Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
Welcome back to Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. I'm your host, Joe Goodberry, and we're getting close to the draft. So close you can feel it, you can taste it, you start to get an idea of what the Bengals may do, because this is about the time. I'm recording this before you'll see it, but as I'm sitting here now, this is the time the teams are getting together and discussing their draft board. When we talk about War Room happens now, leading up to the draft. It doesn't happen during the draft as much, based on things I've read, books, talking to people, stuff like that. It happens in the weeks leading up. Teams get together after all the pro day circuits are done, and they go, okay, I like this guy, that guy, and they start stacking them up. Then they run through scenarios, and then they run it again and argue different scenarios and argue different players until they create their board. And then when they're on the clock, there's very little to talk about. So that's what we're doing. We're ranking each position. We've done so far defensive tackles and guards. And I said, I like the guard class a lot more than the defensive tackle class, especially for what the Bengals need. Well, the safety class, that's what we're doing today. And I think the safety class, especially, I shouldn't lead it that way, because they could address it at 17. They could just say, we're taking the top safety in this class, whoever they feel it is. And we'll get to that when we get to those top two players. Or they can wait until rounds 2 and 3. And I think there's some good starters, not just okay starters. I think this is why safety is the way it is. The Bengals drafted Jesse Bates in round 2. You tend to get good safeties on day 2 in the NFL draft. That is very common. That's where they're drafted. It's why they don't get paid a ton. Sure, they'll get 15, 16 million a year, but it's why they're not getting 25, 35, 40 million dollars a year. It's not that they're not impactful. It's not that we don't respect how much value they add to a defense. It's just that the replacement cost is fairly cheap. It's similar to linebacker and running back. You can get one on day 2. And I think the Bengals can if they want to. And there's a bunch of guys. And then if they don't address it, we've got 3 other players that didn't make this list, didn't make this cut, that if you're in rounds 4, 5, 6, and you want to add to the safety room, well, that's where we'll kick it off, to start with a guy that scores super high for us. Super high. And I don't expect him to go this high. And it's part of the dilemma. It's part of the fun in doing our draft spreadsheet every year is we put the numbers in. They score themselves. Sure, there's a little bit of tape grading that I put in there. Not a little bit. It's a good portion of it. But what I see on the tape, what others see on tape, can be absolutely highlighted or erased by how good their production scores, athleticism scores, and PFF grades are. And a guy this year that's completely 200 spots higher than he was a month ago on our board is Hunter Wohler out of Wisconsin. Wohler is on the consensus board at 200th right now, and he was 220 a little bit ago. He is 16th overall on our draft spreadsheet, which means he is an incredibly safe prospect. 22 years old out of Wisconsin, 6'2", 213, ran a 4.57 at the combine. His relative athletic score puts him just under the 91st percentile, and his production, market share production adjusted, puts him at 95th percentile. Super productive player in 1,800 career snaps. His PFF grade puts him in the 88.5 percentile. Coverage, 86th percentile. Run defense, 84th percentile, including a run stop rate of 97th percentile. His tackling is in the 96th percentile. Forced incompletions, 88th percentile, especially in man coverage, which in man coverage, he grades out in the 97th percentile. The thing is, he's only played free safety about 34% of his snaps at Wisconsin. What he is a strong safety that comes down into the box, plays man coverage. He covers slot guys a ton. He'll cover tight ends. He'll cover running backs. He is a quick twitch player that comes downhill, will hit, reacts very quickly. I think he's very good in the short area coverage. You don't get to see too many deep plays, although I did clip one and put one in here, deep interception. So I do think he is more of a strong safety mold, and maybe even play some linebacker at 213 pounds and 6'2". I mean, the guy's got good size, and the coaches rave about him and his character and his leadership and all these things. And we're telling, like, he's supposed to be a 6th, 7th round pick. I think he should go much higher than that, obviously, based on the production, the character, and the film flashes are really, really high. I've got a 4.5-minute video on Twitter at Joe Goodberry that you can find there, because he was the biggest discrepancy between our board and what the consensus the public is seeing. So I did a video on him, but I can't put all those because a lot of them were TV copy clips. So we try to keep those to a minimum here on this page and on this show, so it doesn't get taken down by YouTube. But Hunter Wohler, man, I can't not draft this guy when I get to the 6th set. If he's just going to be a special teamer, fine. He looks like the score says he's going to play in the NFL for 8 to 10 years. That's one of the safest prospects in this entire class. Am I advocating to take him in the first round at 16? Of course not. I have him 8th basically here of the safeties that I would like to have. And there's other safeties that didn't make this list that I think are decent, but didn't score as well as Hunter Wohler. They're not as safe as Hunter Wohler is. And I think safe probably is undermining his upside. Why can't he be one of these late round safeties that turn into starters? It happens all the time in the league. And I think Hunter Wohler may be the one this year. So remember that name in a couple years. I don't expect that the Bengals draft him. There's been no contact, but watch the Eagles get him in the 6th round, of course, and they'll be starting him in 2 years, and I won't be shocked at all. Next guy on the list is Jaylen Reed out of Penn State. Jaylen Reed is 22 years old, and on the consensus rankings, he is currently 142nd. So are they saying 5th round for Jaylen Reed? Because I'm in our spreadsheet, puts him at 93rd overall right now. 5'11 and 5'8", 211 pounds. That's a lot of weight under 6 foot. He is dense, and he ran a 4.49 at the combine. His relative athletic score puts him in the 90.8th percentile. Production puts him in the 93rd percentile. He has nearly 2,000 career snaps. His PFF grade, here's where he doesn't score really high and then where it gets dragged down a little bit. PFF didn't like him. Had him at 32 percentile for his defensive grade. Coverage, 9th percentile. Very bad in coverage, according to them. Run defense, 80th percentile. Tackling, 55th percentile. A run stop rate puts him in the 84th percentile. His forced incompletions, if you're wondering why he's not good in coverage, not getting his hands on the ball, 25th percentile. Man coverage grade, 28th percentile. Zone coverage grade, 34th percentile. He was at free safety, unlike Hunter Wohler. He's at free safety 51% of the time at Penn State. We've got 2 Penn State guys here. We kind of got 2 Clemson guys in this list, too. I'll get to that in the next. But Jaylen Reed, to me, looks like a thumping. He's a thumper for sure at that spot. And he can blitz, and he can play the post and get down the middle of the field, got good range, played a lot of free safety. I think Kevin Winston, who we're going to talk about clearly in this episode, is the free safety when they were together. But they did a lot of split safeties. And I think I think Jaylen Reed can do all that. I don't think he's locked in as just a strong safety type. I do think he's going to be a free safety more in a Tampa 2 situation. It's why I don't have him higher on this. Some people really like Jaylen Reed. I'm okay on him. I'm lukewarm on him. I think he's got potential to be a starter in the league, but he is just at the cut of what a starter grades for us and our draft prospects, and our draft spreadsheet, I should say. So will he become that? If he doesn't, it's because the people who watch every single snap and grade him on it say he's not that good, which is PFF. But his production profile, that's in the 90th percentile, athleticism in the 90th percentile. If the guy gets around the ball and is athletic and is still young and has played 2,000 career snaps, chances are he's going to have a shot to be a starter in the NFL. And I think Jaylen Reed does. And to me, if you're not looking for a guy that's strictly free safety or strictly strong safety, and it can do a little bit of both, that's where the appeal for Reed is to me. He can do everything. And to me, he's a good blitzer too. I don't know if I said that, but there's a lot of clips of him blitzing. And it's because he's good at it. And there are quite a few guys in this class are really, really good blitzing safeties. And I think that's something that's starting to happen more around the college football landscape and in the NFL, because we're trying to find different ways to create pressure. And Reed was a part of that for Penn State. So I have him here. Will he be there? I mean, we're talking 142. Do we want to wait till the 4th, 5th, 6th round for a safety? If we do, it's Hunter Wohler, Jaylen Reed, and the next guy from Clemson, RJ Mickens. Mickens out of Clemson will be 24 years old as a rookie, and that's probably hurting his profile just a little bit here on the consensus board. He's even lower than Hunter Wohler. He's 216 right now. And for a lot of people that say, hey, watch RJ Mickens, I thought he would be higher. For us, he's at 131. So we're saying fourth, fifth, sixth, maybe even seventh round for RJ Mickens. But at 6 foot, 199 pounds, and ran a 4.49, Mickens had a lot of production. His relative athletic score puts him in the 86.7 percentile. His market share adjusted, and that adjusted takes in the age, production puts him just under 62nd percentile. But when I say he has a lot of production, this guy allowed 2 touchdowns in his career and had 7 interceptions. That's great. That's a great ratio for ball production. 2,200 snaps. PFF absolutely loved him. His grade put him in the 93rd percentile for his career. In coverage, 94th percentile versus the run, 55th percentile. But his run stop rate was in the 84th percentile. Tackling, 86th percentile. If Al Golden's looking for tacklers back there, RJ Mickens can tackle. Man coverage grade, 86th percentile. Zone coverage grade, 93rd percentile. Ball hawk rate. How often does this guy get his hands on the ball? 80th percentile. And he was at free safety 47% of the time. 50 is a lot. So if you hear these guys so far, you're wondering why it's not 70, 80%. 50% is a lot for a free safety. So he's in that range. He is a free safety. Again, I think he's a Tampa 2 split field safety. I don't think he's a true Jesse Bates type, but I think we may have one or two in this 5 guys coming up on this list. But RJ Mickens to me looks good. I think he's a plus athlete with good fluidity, had a lot of clutch plays at end of games. I think, what he came from not starting right away to being a key player for Clemson at the end on that defense. It seemed like because I went back and watched some tape from earlier because we didn't have a lot for 2024 in the database I use. And I watched him and I was like, he is so much better in 2024. Is he just now hitting his stride? Is he just now getting better at 24 years old? Or is he 24 years old? He was 23 when we're watching, and just older than everyone and more experienced than everyone and a man versus some 18, 19, 20-year-olds. That is the case sometimes, and that's probably why it's knocking him a little bit. So given all of that, and if he comes out at 131 for us, he's just under the starter threshold. Maybe he's a very, very good backup or role player because I like this tape a little bit more than the score spit him out. And I think a lot of people around the internet really do. So RJ Mickens is on the radar. I would rather have Reed and Hunter Wohler. These 3 guys that don't make the top 5 aren't in order. They're just, 3 guys I would like to have if the value meets the correct spot for them. But our top 5 guys now, I would like any of them. And where they're supposed to go, I have no problem taking them at those exact spots. At number 5 is Texas's, and he came from Clemson. That's why I say we have 2 Clemson guys. Andrew Mukuba. On the consensus ranking, he is 76th. Bengals pick 81st. Could he be there in round 3? I would love it. He's 22.4 years old, so he spent most of his rookie year as a 22-year-old. And he's 92nd overall on our board. So I'm thinking more 81st, and I hope he is there for that. I'd love to make that pick because I like Mukuba more than our spreadsheet does. And I've got a near first-round grade on him. Premium second-round pick. I would have no problem with that. He's a bit small, 5'11", 186, but he ran a 4.45 at the combine. His relative athletic score, because of his size and the rest of his testing, wasn't that great. Puts him in the 53.7 percentile. But for safety, that usually means a little bit less. We don't need them to be the ultra athletes that they sometimes can be, which we'll have one in this class as well. Production, though, puts him in the 89.5 percentile, 2,400 career snaps. PFF grade puts him in the 79th percentile. In coverage, 77th percentile. Run defense, 50th percentile. Tackling, 50th percentile. And I think we see that at times on tape for Mukuba at Texas. Not a great run defender, not a great tackler at times. Man coverage, 68th percentile. Zone coverage, you need a deep free safety, 90th percentile. Ball hawk rate puts him in the 68th percentile, gets his hands on the ball. He was at free safety for Texas throughout his career, actually, Clemson and Texas. 48% of the time. He also played a lot of slot and covered in the slot, and he can do that. And I think he looks really good there. I have a clip or two on this video that's playing. And I think he covers well in the slot. I think he covers as a deep free safety. I think he runs the alley really well for being a small dude. I like Andrew Mukuba a whole bunch, and I would be happy if the Bengals said, we're going to wait. We're not going to take one of these other guys, these top 4 guys that I have listed in the first or second round. And we're going to wait to round 3. And that's probably where Mukuba goes. Hopefully he's still there. But if they decided to do that, I think he'd be a great fit to pair next to Jordan Battle. I think he'd be a great fit to keep Geno Stone for a year or two and have a good 3 safety rotation, because I think you can do a lot with Mukuba coming in the box and covering the slot. The Bengals don't really have that guy right now. And that's a valuable piece to the defense, because often you can stay in your base defense and say, you know what? They're going to come out with 3 receivers. Let's say it's a Mike Gesicki type guy on the other side. You want your safety to be able to come down and cover. Battle can do it a little bit, but he's not that type of athlete, right? We know that. I think the Bengals are missing that. And maybe that's where Dax Hill kind of fits in still as a quasi safety, nickel, boundary corner, do it all defensive back. Maybe that's the reason why he hasn't succeeded yet, because he can jack of all trades, master of none, right? But there is value in it, and I think Mukuba can do that. Jesse Bates would do it too. Even though he's a deep free safety 50% of the time, the other 50% of the time, I need you to defend the run, I need you to be able to tackle or cover the slot for me. And Mukuba can at least cover the slot, and I like him a ton for that spot. A guy that probably wouldn't have been even close to where he's ranked right now, I think he would have been much higher had he have not hurt his knee halfway through the season, or I should say early in the season, is Penn State's Kevin Winston. And Winston, for tearing his knee up, showed up at the pro day and ran a 4.5, and he's the next guy on our list. Winston's on the consensus ranking right now as 74th. So again, we're in between there. Can he make it there to 81? I think there's a chance, but I bet teams really like what they saw on tape, his limited tape. He's 53rd on our draft spreadsheet. So if they want to take him at 49, I don't see it as a big reach, anything like that. I think he's a fine player to take. 6'1 and a half, 215 pounds, got good size, ran that 4.5 on a 6-month repaired ACL, but couldn't do the other testing, of course. So that puts a minor blemish on his profile. He probably would have been top 40 with just average plus average, above average testing. The issue here, 694 career snaps. We're talking about guys with 2,400 snaps in their career, college career. Winston, just 694. He is 21 years old. He's a young man, declared for the draft is what I want to say. Probably early, probably hurt him. If he was healthy all year, he would have went higher. If he would have came back and had a great year, probably goes higher. But because his age is so young, his market share adjusted production puts him in the 88.5th percentile. He was very good in this 700 snap season. PFF grade, 97th percentile. Coverage, 89th. Run defense, 100th percentile for run defense. Tackling, 99.9 percentile. Ball hawk, 48th percentile. Man coverage, 24th percentile. He's not a man cover guy. Zone coverage, 93rd percentile. He didn't have a penalty in his college career. He was at free safety. I said 50s a lot. Kevin Winston was at free safety 59% of the time in his college career. We're talking about a free safety here with range, with ball skills, but is a great tackler, is great against the run, is great in zone coverage, is probably an elite athlete with good size, and he's 21. Kevin Winston, despite the 700 snaps, I think, like, if he would have finished the year, he would have finished with an acceptable 1,400 snaps this year for Penn State. And he would have been probably talked about with the top guys in this draft, with the Nick Emmanwori and the Malachi Starks. And I know some like Winston even more than those guys, and that's fair. I get it. What we saw in the limited tape is really dang good. I think Kevin Winston is a great prospect. If the Bengals don't get who they want, and let's say it's one of the top 3 guys that are remaining on our list, and they say at 49, we like Winston, and because we have Geno Stone, we can afford Winston the time to get ready, slowly bring him back, and maybe he's back by the time the season starts. That would be a fair amount of time. But let's say we want to keep his snaps limited. Give him about 400, 500 snaps. Split his snaps as a rookie. Geno Stone's still here. We can split the 3 of them and rotate, and maybe Tyson Anderson, Dejon Anthony get in there, right? But that seems like an ideal situation for Winston. Rather than going to a spot where he needs to step in and start and be a starter for a team, I think you bring Winston along slowly, and it's like getting a 2026 first-round pick, because I think Winston would have been if you would have kept playing. It's hard to say, because we say that, I think, we got a guy coming up, Malachi Starks, that if we say he would have been a top 10 pick had he have taken another step. Sometimes you don't. And maybe Winston wouldn't have. But if he did, he would have been a first round pick. Our next guy, though, is someone that this coaching staff should know to a T. And they should know exactly who he is. And if there's no contact with him pre-draft, don't be alarmed because Al Golden knows exactly who Xavier Watts is. Who is Xavier Watts? He's the 23-year-old safety with 2,100 snaps in Notre Dame. On the consensus board, he's 48th. Hey, the Bengals picked 49th. On our draft spreadsheet, we're a little bit lower. He's 90th, but I like him a ton. Again, I gave him a near first-round grade. I gave him a premium second-round pick, and I think he's worth it. Because we're talking about ball production before we get to the size and testing, I want to start with this so you know. He is charged with 1 touchdown in his college career. He has 13 interceptions, a passer rating of 22. That puts him in the 99th percentile for passer rating of all safeties. The dude he doesn't get beat, and he gets his hands on the ball. His relative athletic score didn't test as well as you'd like, 53rd percentile at 6 foot 204 and ran a 4.58. His production puts him in the 82nd percentile, only really knocked because he's a little bit older than the other guys. PFF grade, PFF loves him, 89th percentile. Coverage, 87th percentile. Run defense, 67th percentile. Tackling, 50th percentile. So similar to, some of these other guys, Mukuba, 50th percentile. Ball hawk rate, though, there you go, 93rd percentile. Man coverage, 95th percentile. So he's a free safety that can play man, just like Mukuba. Zone coverage, 70th percentile. He had 1 penalty in his 2,100 career snaps, and he was at free safety 43% of the time. Xavier Watts is one of the most fun players and most fun tapes to watch because the guy just gets his hands on the ball consistently. I think he had 6 interceptions in 2024. And so pick a random game, and you're probably going to see him get his hands on the ball for Notre Dame. Whether it's tip balls, he's in the right spot, knocking balls away, jumping coverages, anticipating route combos, playing the deep free safety, and getting over the top with great range and making him play on the ball. Xavier Watts does it all, and I think he's a solid run defender, especially in obvious run situations. I don't think he's as aggressive as I'd like as coming down in the alley from the free safety spot, but I think when it's like third and short and everyone's in tight, he's a good run defender. Probably similar to the way Jesse Bates was. I think he's a similar player and prospect, but maybe a little bit more consistent coming out of college, and that's why he's considered a top 50 player on the consensus where Bates was a little bit lower. But I like Watts a ton. He didn't test that well, didn't run that well. I don't care. You can see he's smart. You can see he understands how he's being attacked. You can see he controls the entire defense, and he's got great ball skills. And those are traits I'm looking for. We're looking for a free safety, right? I want those things. And Xavier Watts fits that for Al Golden's defense. So if he's the pick at 49, if they don't take a safety at 17, Xavier Watts has to be the odds-on favorite for the Bengals at 49, right? I mean, who else would it be if they don't take a safety at 17? Having said all that, the top 2 guys may be the pick at 17 for the Bengals. In either one, you could split them. I don't care how you split them. If you say, oh, I like this guy more than that guy, I'm going to lean on the spreadsheet here and lean on the data a little bit. Although I gave one guy a higher tape grade and the other guy spits out as the better prospect slightly. It's close. Number 2 is Malachi Starks out of Georgia. And I wanted to get to a video on Malachi Starks, one episode dedicated just to him. So you're going to get over 3 minutes of highlights here as I talk. Not just highlights, it's full evaluation and clips that I've saved throughout the process. But we've heard his name for over a year now. Really 2 years ago, I saw this interception versus Oregon that may not be in here. I was like, that ball skills at that safety, that young safety. Okay, write that name down. And it was Malachi Starks. He's 21 years old, 21 and a half. He'll be 22 as a rookie at some point. 6'1", 197, and ran a 4.50. On the consensus board, he is 21st right now. Still holding that ranking. He was probably 12, 13, 14 when we started this process in January. And I think that's important because a lot of times the Bengals will rely on those early rankings, I think, more than most teams. They don't let the data and some of the offseason or draft stuff influence them too much. They rely on what the scouts had, and he was a top 12 player at some point. For us, he's 59th on the consensus. It's going to be a little bit lower, and we'll get into why that is. For a young player, big program that was decently productive. His athletic score puts him in the 56th, just under 57th percentile. Didn't test amazingly, which is okay. Again, we try to weight that a little bit less at safety. His production, though, market share adjusted production. Like I said, big school, young, played at a young age, and was highly productive. Production puts him in the 98.3 percentile. 2,500 career snaps, and he's still only 21. His defensive grade from PFF puts him in the 81st percentile. Now, he's a free safety, right? I don't know if you know that. Malachi Starks is a free safety. But his coverage grade from PFF puts him in the 59th percentile. There's a play probably every single game where you go, what is he doing? Why did he do that? Oh, that's interesting. Did they tell him to do that? Does he have the freedom to do what he wants? Is he misreading that? What's going on? So his coverage grade puts him in 59th percentile. His run defense grade, free safety now, remember this, 97th percentile in run defense. Tackling, 99th percentile. Ball hawk rate, 48th percentile. So that's decent. But his plays on the ball are tremendous. Man coverage, 76th percentile. Zone coverage, 52nd percentile. He's at free safety in his career 48% of the time. So right in that range of what you want for a free safety. I'm telling you, some of these clips here, and we don't have a good angle of the one versus Clemson down the right sideline, and he pretty much, jumps up, leaps, twists, turns his body, contorts it, and makes a crazy catch. It's not the only time he does that. Malachi Starks has great ball skills and tremendous range. They say at Georgia, he is everything you want him to be in terms of a leader, in terms of understanding every little detail about your defense, where people should line up, what the adjustments are, what the calls are. He's going to be that guy for you. Listen to a lot of draft stuff. People that know people at Georgia, reading insider stuff and scouts takes and anonymous quotes. Everyone loves Malachi Starks from a personality perspective. They're like, yeah, so what? He makes a couple mistakes. He has a couple plays. The plays you don't see are what he's doing throughout Monday through Friday, right? And the Bengals can use that big time. They need these guys. And honestly, a lot of these guys sound like that so far, especially in the top three. Watts, Starks, and Emmanwori, you can guess, can be number one. But Starks, they rave about him at Georgia. And we're talking about a guy that if he was more consistent this past year, you don't get him at 17. You don't even touch him. If he tested a little bit better, you don't get him at 17. So if the Bengals sit there and they say, you know what, we think he is a blue chip player, we're taking him. I've got no issue with that. No issue at all. Despite me putting him number 2. I've got no problem if they want to make Malachi Starks their pick. And then say in round 2, we're going guard. And then round 3, we're going with another defensive player, maybe a trench player. Figure it out from there. It's okay with me. When we get to the defensive end episode, I could put 15 guys that I would like them to draft at defensive end. It's really deep. So if you wanted to wait, you could wait, and that would be the position to do it. Starks is worth the pick at 17, despite my number 2 ranking. Number 1 is a guy we've done Bengals on the Brain, a full episode, because I really liked him, and I thought he was better than maybe some of the discourse out there. Nick Emmanwori is, I think both these guys are a little bit different than what you think. Like I said, Starks is a free safety that's a great tackler and good against the run. Emmanwori is a strong safety that can cover. Nick Emmanwori from South Carolina, he's 23rd, just right behind Malachi Starks on the consensus board. He is 7th on our draft spreadsheet. Scores very, very similar to a player I'm going to compare him to in a second. They almost have identical scores from a couple years ago. 21 years old. He is 20 on tape. He is a fresh 21-year-old. He is 20 on tape when you watch him, and I brought that up on Bengals on the Brain. 6'3", 220, ran a 4.38. Didn't do his agilities, so he's a bit linear of an athlete. Relative athletic score puts him in the 100th percentile because he didn't do the agilities, didn't take that in. He'd probably be a little bit less than that, but still, we do what we use the data we have. His production puts him in the 96.9 percentile among all safeties. 2,300 snaps in his college career. His PFF grade puts him in the 70th percentile. In coverage, 74th percentile. Versus the run, 71st percentile. Tackle grade, 90th percentile. Ball hawk rate puts him in the 76th percentile. Well, I said he could cover. Nick Emmanwori in man coverage amongst all safeties, his grade puts him in the 96th percentile. His zone coverage puts him in the 54th percentile. He's only at free safety 30% of the time. So he's a strong safety that can cover in man. Who does that remind you of? People see the size and they see the rare big hit from Emmanwori because he doesn't do it that much. And they think, oh, Cam Chancellor. He's not Cam Chancellor. Watch him in man coverage more. Grab all the clips you can of him in man coverage. He's Kyle Hamilton of the Ravens. He's Kyle Hamilton that should have went top 12 and graded top 10 for us a few years ago. You don't want that? You don't want that potential? I know he didn't do his agilities, but I put clips up on Bengals on the Brain. We watched a couple of games with one where he flips his hips and covers that slot receiver and erases that route. It is there. Watch him click and close. It is there. Now he's a bit hesitant against the run at times. He doesn't come down from free safety and want to run that alley and clear out. We see throughout the clips we've seen today, we've seen safeties lay guys out and flip guys upside down and run that alley completely to the goal or to the line of scrimmage and hit a running back. You don't see that much with Emmanwori. He plays it more like a cerebral understanding what the defense is doing. And when you check like the Beast and other insider articles, they loved him at South Carolina. They call him Nick the Eraser, that mentally he's the top of what you want, knows exactly what's going on, knows what he should be doing, making adjustments before the coaches even call it and say it. Freak athlete, 20 years old on tape, so he's 21, fresh 21. With that IQ, okay, I'm in. I'm in on Nick Emmanwori at 17. You may say, we need a free safety, not a strong. Guys, what we need is defensive playmakers. What we need is more speed, athleticism, size. We need guys who are intelligent. We need guys that are communicators. We need guys with the right characters that can be the face. Who's the face of this defense in 2 years? It's not on the team. They're not on the team. You're drafting that. I don't care if it's a safety, a defensive tackle, a D end, a corner, linebacker. I do not care what position it is. Does the guy project to be a potential all-pro player, impact player that is a rare prospect, that has all the traits of a rare prospect? Emmanwori has that. And if the Bengals pick him at 17, I've got no problem. I would say, good job. You're giving this defense something it needs. They need playmakers. They need splash plays. They need guys that you have to worry about. Game plan for the Bengals defense. All right, we got Trey Hendrickson that we got to worry about. Anyone else? No? Okay, let's move. That's it. Nick Emmanwori gives you somebody else to worry about. Because where's he going to line up? What's he going to do? Can he erase? Like, we see the advantage Mike Gesicki gives the Bengals offense. If you're the other team with Emmanwori, you're going to go put him on Mike Gesicki and cover. And you might take Gesicki out. That'd be a big thing. I want that. I want to be able to cover Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely or David Njoku with him. Right? Pat Fryermuth even. I want to cover with our safety. I want to stay in base defense and say, hey, you can come down and cover the slot. And Emmanwori does that. And he does it with rare speed and rare size, 6'3", 220 at safety. I'm in. If you're not in, let me know. Who am I missing on this list? I know there's guys I'm missing. I know it. And then there's going to be some slot corners or corner converts to safety. They're going to be good later on in the future. Inevitably, you're going to miss those guys. But I think the Bengals draft one of these guys I listed today, especially one of the top 5. And then J.J. Roberts, I should have mentioned, out of Marshall. Not much out there to watch. Seems like the Bengals have had repeated contact with him, so I should mention him. He's probably on the just missed 6th, 7th undrafted range for Roberts. So let me know where I'm wrong. Let me know if you'd have Starks number 1, if you'd have Watts number 1. Who is your number 1? And if it's not Emmanwori, what do you think? Would you take him? How would you feel about the Bengals doing it? Let me know. I'll read the comments. The next Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics, will go to the defensive end room. Probably the strongest group in this draft class. I think it is. That episode might be a little bit longer than expected.
Everybody loves the NFL draft. There's no question about that. So, in honor of that, we're going to have our 3rd annual First Star Logistics draft party. It's going to be at Handlebar at Great American Ballpark. going to start at 7 o'clock. And then Friday, of course, is day 2 of the draft, rounds 2 and 3. Brad Johansson will be hosting. Joe Goodberry and myself will be on the panel. And also make sure we get some guests from the Cincinnati Bengals organization that are going to remain a little bit of a surprise to you folks right now. It's sold out. I mean, first time we had it at a Great American Ballpark, it was well received. It's off the charts this time. So the only way you can catch us, watch the live stream on the First Star Media Group YouTube channel. That's the way you're going to be involved. It's going to be a great night. Mark it down. Don't miss it.